Here's the reality of the situation. He has to perform well, regardless of whether they win or lose. But I would remind everybody that James Harden was averaging near 30 on 45% shooting before he showed up and shot 0 for 11 from three-point range, in Game 5. That's what happened. That's why he's at 26% from three-point range in this series. He shot 0 for 11 from three-point range, 5 for 21 overall. It was an abysmal shooting performance. One game dipped his average. The other 4 games, he's been averaging close to 30 on 45% shooting. So we need to remember that. We also need to remember that even though they got annihilated in Game 6, really, Game 4 was when they really got, or Game 3 rather, was when they really got destroyed because they had all their horses. I don't hold anything against James Harden for what transpired in Game 6. You're Mike D'Antoni. You got to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. You got to slow the pace. You got to get another ball handler on the floor. You can't have James Harden handling the ball, having point guard responsibilities with a bunch of dudes on the court that can't dribble the ball. That had a lot to do with what happened with Houston. Gerald Green, P.J. Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, all good players in their own right as far as I'm concerned. I'm not disrespecting them, but ball handling is not their strength. And if you don't have another ball handler on the floor against Golden State's defense, it's going to be problematic for you. So when I look at James Harden, I'm looking at a guy that's right now over 41% shooting, averaging 28, 6, and 5 on the series. With the exception of one game, he's been fine. The issue in question is that you don't have CP3. So if you're going to go down, you have to go down swinging, reminding everybody of why we've been talking about you as a league MVP candidate. You don't have to win, but similar to Kevin Durant, you got to show up. In Kevin Durant's case, they got to win. They can't lose to a Houston team with CP3 hobbled. James Harden can lose this game and still walk away with his head held high, having respect. If he goes out swinging, reminding everybody he's that league MVP candidate. But he has to do at least that.
This is where LeBron makes it tough for everyone else. The way Jordan made it tough for even LeBron, how do you stand up to that standard of perfection? James Harden, does he get a pass? Does he need to beat the Warriors without CP3? It's like you think, well, maybe LeBron could do it. No one's LeBron. Every other standard says he doesn't have to. And you're right, there's plenty of time to talk Warriors versus Bulls, Will. But you put that bait in front of me, I can't resist it. I just want to.
But Max, we're not comparing anybody to LeBron.
I understand. I want to say something about this Warriors team while we're on the subject of does Harden need to beat them. This Warriors team won a championship against LeBron James without Kyrie or Kevin Love, but it went 6 games. Asterisk. The next season, they lost the championship, fully loaded, having won 73 games at home. The next year, they added KD and stomped everyone. They still still KD, the same thing, and they're in a Game 7. And if they win a Game 7 against Houston without Houston's second-best player, there will be an asterisk next to that one, too. To say that they are the greatest team ever, when you could argue they are lucky to win 2 championships out of 4 when the Bulls were 6 for 6, is absurd.
Well, Max, we're in the middle of this argument. It's not a done process, but look, because you take both sides of the argument, you get to have this both ways. You talk consistently about this being a 73-win team that added KD. That's the team I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about the team that lost to LeBron 2 years ago. I'm talking about the one that's looked virtually unbeatable for going on 2 years now. I fully recognize they're in a vulnerable moment because, quite honestly, they're not playing their ball. They're playing some different kind of ball now in Golden State. Well, my theory is they can flip a switch and get back to it here in Game 7. But really quickly, because I think we're on the same page here, and I listen, and I learn from you, Stephen A., and there's times when I defer, but you said this, and I think you're right. There's redemption for James Harden in a noble defeat, right? There's redemption should they – none of us expect them to beat this team, Golden State. They're just outnumbered. But his individual performance, that's what he's going to have to show up for. That's what he will not get a pass from. The only catch-22 there, Stephen A., is what Game 1 looked like. Game 1 looked like James Harden playing ISO individual ball, and what happened? They lost.
Well, again,
What happens?
it did look that way. Hold on, Max. It did look that way. He dropped 41 that game, and obviously they were at their best in game 2 when they shared the basketball. But when I say he has to show up, Will, for a game of this magnitude, what I mean by that is, what if suddenly we can't find anybody else? What if suddenly his supplementary parts resemble what Boston looked like last night? I'm saying they can all get away with that. He can't. He has to show up for Game 7 tonight. He can't have that kind of game. Boston didn't have Kyrie, but Houston has him. And even though you're outnumbered, the bottom line is you have to go down swinging.
Yeah.
We need to see you walk into the bench, even if you walk into the bench, even if you walk to the bench defeated. We have to see you walking there looking at saying,
especially
congratulations,
considering,
you played a hell of a
his,
game.
His appearances the last couple
Can't say
playoffs.
you went to bed.